हेलो माय डियर फ्रेंड्स, कैसे हैं आप लोग। उम्मीद करती हूँ आप सब अच्छे होंगे। एन इंटेंशनल लव लाइफ। दोस्तों, आप मुझे कमेंट्स में ज़रूर बताइए कि मुझे कितनी देर का वीडियो डालना चाहिए। 20 मिनट्स काफ़ी है या 40-45 मिनट्स की रीडिंग अच्छी रहेंगी, या फिर 5 या 10 मिनट्स, जैसा भी आप है। मुझे आप जितना सुनना चाहे उस हिसाब से आप मुझे कमेंट्स में ज़रूर बताइए। अ, अच्छा रहेगा। मुझे हेल्प भी हो जाएगी थोड़ी समझने में कि रीडिंग कितनी टाइम की अच्छी रहेगी। तो दोस्तों, प्लीज़ हेल्प फॉर दिस एन इंटेंशनल लव लाइफ फ्रॉम द बुक थिंक लाइक अ मॉन्क, written by Jay Shetty, chapter Relationships. Now that we have some tools to access the roles people play in our lives, let's look at how we can deepen existing relationships and build strong new ones. Letting go of traditional family roles allowed us monks to broaden our connections with humanity. In the same way, celibacy freed the energy and attention that romantic love had consumed. Before you hurl this book across the room, I am not recommending celibacy for the non monks. Celibacy is an extreme commitment and hardly an essential one for everyone, but it did led me to revelations that I did like to share. Let's say I did it so you don't have to. To stop drinking. That was easy for me. To stop gambling. I did never done much of that in the first place, and I did stop eating meat at 16. For me, giving up romantic relationships was the hardest sacrifice. It sounded ridiculous, even impossible, but I knew the purpose behind it, to save the effort and energy that went into being validated in a romantic relationship and to use it to build a relationship with myself. Think of it the same way was giving up sugar sounds like a drag. What a sane person will want to forgive ice cream, but we all know there is a good reason to be healthy and live longer. When I looked at the monks, I could see that they were doing something right. Remember Matthew Richard, the world's happiest man. All the monks I met looked so young and seemed so happy. My romantic entanglements hadn't brought me fulfillment, so I was willing to try the experiment of self control and discipline. When I became a monk, one of my college friends asked, "What are we going to talk about?" All we used to do was talk about girls. He was right. So much of my life had been absorbed in navigating romantic connections. There is a reason we watch countless sitcoms and movies about romance is endlessly entertaining, but as with any entertainment, it takes time away from serious matters. If I did been dating or in a committed relationship for those 3 years instead of being at the ashram, I wouldn't be where I am today, an understanding of my strengths and who I am. The Sanskrit for monk is brahmacharya, which can be translated to the right use of energy. In the dating world, when you walk into a bar, you look around to see who is attractive, or you swipe through potential mates online without giving a second thought to how much time you spend in the effort to hook up. But imagine if you could buy that time back for yourself, if you would cope everything you have ever invested in relationships that didn't pan out. That intention and focus could be used for creativity, friendship, introspection, industry. Now, this doesn't mean every failed relationship is a waste of time. On the contrary, we learn from each mistake. But think of the time around the relationship, waiting for text, wondering if they like you, trying to make someone change into the person you want them to be. If we are thoughtful about our needs and expectations, our time and energy go to far better use. Sexual energy is not just about pleasure, it is sacred. It has the power to create a child. Imagine what it can create within us when it's harnessed. Certified says educated Mala Medron says celibacy by conscious choice is a powerful way to work with your own energy and harness the potency of life energy. It can also help you strengthen your intuition, your boundaries, and your understanding of what consent truly means, including how to differentiate what kind of contact and interaction is truly welcome in your life and by your body. But your energy is squandered when it is spent tailoring yourself to someone else's idea or shaping yourself into the person you think he wants or suspecting her of cheating on you. There is so much anxiety and negativity around dating and so much pressure to find the one, never mind whether we are ready or able to settle down with anyone. Once the element of romantic pursuit was removed, I wasn't trying to promote myself as a boyfriend to look good, to make women think anything of me, to indulge lust. I found my connections with female friends, with all my friends growing deeper. I had more physical and mental space and energy for this source. My time and attention were better spent. Again, I am not suggesting you to give up sex, though you certainly could. But what if you give yourself permission to be single by yourself, able to focus on your career, your friends, and your peace of mind? Minister and philosopher Paul Tillich said, our language has wisely sensed these two sides of men's being alone. It has created the word loneliness to express the pain of being alone, and it has created the word solitude to express the glory of being alone. I spent 3 years as a monk, 3 years developing my self awareness, at the end of which I was able to ask myself the right questions about a relationship. I may not have spent all of my waking hours in sattva, the mode of goodness, but I knew where I wanted to be and how it felt. I had the opportunity to become the person I would want to date. Instead of looking for others to make me happy, I was able to be that person for myself. Attractions versus connection. Our increased intentionality gives us a clearer perspective with which to evaluate why we are initially attracted to people and whether those reasons support our values. There are five primary motivations for connection, and note that these don't exclusively apply to romantic prospects. First, physical attraction. You like what they look like, you are drawn to their appearance, style, or presence, or you like the idea of being seen with them. Second, material. You like their accomplishments and the power or the positions this affords them. Third, intellectual. You like how they think, you are stimulated by the conversation and ideas. Emotional. You connect well, they understand your feelings and increase your sense of well-being. Spiritual, they share your deepest goals and values. When you identified what's attracting you, it's clear if you are attracted to the whole person or just a part. In my experience, ask most people what attracts them to another person, and they will mention some combination of the top three qualities: looks, success, and intellect. But those qualities alone don't correlate with long term fortifying relationships. Monks believe that someone's looks aren't who they are, the body is only a vessel for the soul. Similarly, someone's positions aren't theirs. They certainly don't tell about the person's character. And if you are attracted to someone's intellect, there are no guarantee it will lead to a meaningful bond. These three qualities don't correlate with long term fortifying relationships, but they do show your chemistry with another person. The last two, emotional and spiritual, point to a more profound, lasting connection. They show your compatibility. Quality, not quantity. When it comes to the energy we expand and receive in relationships, the focus is quality, not quantity. I often hear from guilty parents, usually moms, that they feel bad having to work long hours and lose out on time with their kids. According to the first ever large scale study of the impact of mother's time is the quality of time spent with kids, not the quantity that counts. That means put away your phone during family time. I am not a parent, but I know that as a child, I always felt my mom's energy. I never measured how much time she spent with me. My mother worked as a young child. I went to daycare. I don't have a single memory from daycare. No painful memories of her absence, but I do remember her coming to pick me up. She did always smile and ask about my day. This is true in our relationships, in all relationships. Nobody wants to sit with you at dinner while you are on the phone. This is where we confuse time and energy. You can spend a whole hour with someone, but only give them 10 minutes of energy. I am not able to spend much time with my family, but when I am with them, I am 100% there. I did rather spend 2 hours with them focused and engaged than give them partial distracted energy for a whole weekend. A monk shows a love through presence and attention. In the ashram, time invested was never seen as a reliable measure of care or engagement. As I have mentioned, after a meditation, nobody asked how long you did meditate. They asked how deep you had gone. If you have dinner together every night, great, but what it is the quality of the conversation? Think like monks do in terms of energy management, not time management. Are you bringing your full presence and attention to someone? ट्राई दिस। दोस्तों मैं है ना शॉर्ट्स में डालूँगी, आप वहाँ से ज़रूर ट्राई करिए। और आपने कितने शॉर्ट्स ट्राई करें मुझे कमेंट में हर शॉर्ट के बारे में ज़रूर बताइए। मुझे किस टाइप की बुक्स लर्न करनी चाहिए, हिंदी, इंग्लिश, मुझे 2 लैंग्वेज अच्छे आते हैं, उसमें से आप मुझे सजेस्ट कर सकते हैं। बुक्स के नेम्स भी सजेस्ट कर दीजिए अच्छे से। 6 लविंग exchanges. Most couples don't sit together, draw up a list of values, and see whether they share them. But once we have clarity about ourselves, we can connect with others in a more intentional way. The Upade Samrata talks about 6 loving exchanges to encourage bonding and growing together. There are 3 types of exchanges. Each involves giving and receiving, thus adding up to 6. They help us build a relationship based on generosity, gratitude, and service. Gifts. Giving charity and receiving whatever is offered in return. This seems obvious or maybe even materialistic. We don't want to buy each other's affection, but think about what it means to give to another person with intention. Do you get flowers for your partner on Valentine's Day? This is a very conventional gesture to consider whether it is the one that brings your partner the most joy. If flowers it is, did you walk them past a flower shop 6 months ago to suss out their preferences in preparation for this day? Or did you text a secret query to their closest friend? Both actions entail a lot more intention than just ordering some roses online. Though, of course, that's better than completely forgetting the day. Is Valentine's Day the best moment to express your love, or will an unexpected gesture be even more meaningful? Have you taken the time to contemplate what an ill friend will really like? Maybe it isn't an object but an action or service over time, cleaning their car, organizing activities, helping them with obligations, or bringing them someplace beautiful. You can bring the same thoughtfulness to receiving a gift. Are you grateful for the effort that went into the gift? Do you understand why and what it means for the giver? Conversation. Listening is one of the most thoughtful gifts we can give. There is no better way to show that we care about another person's experience. Listening intentionally means looking for the emotions behind the words, asking questions to further understand, incorporating what you have learned into your knowledge of the other person, doing your best to remember what they said, and following up the relevant. Listening also involves creating an atmosphere of trust where the person feels welcome and safe. It is also important to share your own thoughts and dreams, hopes and worries. The vulnerability of exposing yourself is a way of giving trust and showing respect for another person's opinion. It enables the other person to understand the previous experiences and beliefs you bring to whatever you do together. 6 loving exchanges. Gifts, giving with intention, receiving with gratitude. Conversation, listening with judgment, without judgment, speaking with vulnerability. Food, preparing without agenda, receiving with pressure. Presence. ट्राई दिस मैं शॉर्ट में डालूंगी, आप वहाँ से ज़रूर देखिएगा। Food. The world was a very different place when the The Samrata was written, of course, and I interpret this exchange of food broadly to mean the exchange of experiences, any tangible expression of care and service that nourishes body or spirit, like giving a massage, creating a relaxing space for the other person in the home, or putting on music you know they enjoy. On a grander scale, my wife left her beloved family and moved to New York so she could live with me. And expressions of care and generosity that nourished me more than I can say. Once we were in New York, I introduced her to other women to help her find a community. The experiences we exchanged didn't have to be perfectly matched. We look for what the other person needs most. These six exchanges can be thoughtless and empty, or they can have true depth and meaning, but don't judge people's efforts without giving them a chance to succeed. Nobody can read minds. If your roommate or partner doesn't guess at what you want them to organize your birthday party, it's not their fault. Instead, be clear and honest with them about what you need. Ready for love? The sixth loving exchange lay a foundation for any close relationship, but most of us are looking for the one. The Harvard Grant study followed 268 Harvard undergraduates for 75 years, collecting piles of data about them along the way. When researchers combed through the data, they found a single factor that reliably predicted the quality of participants' lives: love. Participants could have every other external marker for success: money, a thriving career, good physical health, but if they didn't have loving relationships, they weren't happy. If happy, weren't happy. We all come to relationship with different levels of self awareness. With the encouragement of online quizzes and dating apps, we list the characteristics we want in a partner: sense of humor, caring, good looking, but we don't look at what we really need. How do we want to be cared for? What looks us feel loved? In a how to love, teach na hand writes. मुझे ये बोलना नहीं आता, इसको कैसे बोलते हैं आप मुझे कमेंट्स में कहीं में भी ये फिर बताइएगा ज़रूर. Often we get crushes on others not because we truly love and understand them, but to distract ourselves from our suffering. When we learn to love and understand ourselves and have true compassion for ourselves, then we can truly love and understand another person. After the ashram, when I was ready for a relationship which was not as some friends assumed the moment I left, my sense of what I wanted in a partner was steered by self knowledge. I knew what could complement me and what wouldn't. I know what I needed in my life and what I had to offer. My ability to find the right relationship evolved because I had evolved. As it happened, Radhi Devlukia, the woman who would become any wife, already had his self-knowledge too. Without the need for the same journey I had made, she knew she wanted to be with someone spiritually connected with high morals and values. I believe she would have done just fine without me, but I know my life would have been different, full of pain, if I hadn't taken the time to work on myself before diving into a serious relationship. According to Massive Attack, love is a verb. Dan in Real Life says love is an ability. The Dalai Lama says love is the absence of judgment. Love is also patient. It's kind, and apparently love is all you need. With so many definitions of love in our culture, it's all a bit confusing, and I was confused. Despite of my monk experience, my self-exploration and intentionality and compassion, when I ventured out of my first date back in London, I already know I like her. The Think Out Loud group I started in college continued for some years after I left, and I stayed in touch, visiting and lecturing when I came to London. Radhi was part of that community, but had come to some of my lectures and had become friends with my sister. Now, people from that community, including me and Radhi, have joined together to organize a charity event against racism and bullying for young kids in England. Seeing Radhi in that contest has told me more about her than I would have learned on a dating profile, or even after a few days. I have been seen how respectful she is with everyone on the team. She has interesting opinions and cool ideas. I have had a chance to get a real look at who she is. Anyone can be their online profile for our 1 hour date. It may be their best self, but it doesn't give the full picture. I still haven't forget. I still haven't gotten a full time job, but I have been tutoring to make a bit of money. I have saved up for months. Evenings, and I take Radhi to the theatre to see Wicked. Then I bring her to Locatelli, a fancy restaurant that's way above my pay grade. She is polite but unimpressed. Afterwards, she says, "You didn't have to do this," and confess that her ideal date will be going to a supermarket, walking the hills, and buying some bread. I am mystified. Who would want to be that? I hadn't had any relationship since becoming a monk, and I had yet to reconcile who I was spiritually with how I used to date. I felt like I had one foot in each world. In spite of my monk training, I snapped right back into my old relationship mode, the one where I tried to give the other person what media, movies, and music told me they wanted instead of developing my awareness of who they are. I myself love gifts and extravagant demonstrations of love, and for a while I clevelessly continued to shower Radhi with grand gestures. I got it completely wrong. She wasn't impressed by any of that. She is not very fancy. Even after my years in the ashrams, I could still be swayed by external influences or my own preferences rather than careful observations of what she liked. But after my initial missteps, I was aware enough to figure it out, and thank God she married me. If you don't know what you want, you will send out the wrong signals and attract the wrong people. If you aren't self aware, you will look for the wrong qualities and choose the wrong people. This work is what we have talked about throughout this book. Until you understand yourself, you won't be ready for love. Sometimes we find ourselves making the same mistake over and over again, attracting the same sort of incompatible partners, or picking them in spite of ourselves. If this happens, it isn't bad luck, it's a clue that we have work to do. The monk's perspective is that you carry pain, you try to find people to ease that pain, but only you can do that. If you don't work through it, it stays with you and interferes with your decisions. The problematic people who emerge reflect your unresolved issues, and they will keep reappearing until you learn the lesson you need to learn. As Ayanla once said of opera to opera, until you heal the wounds of your past, you will continue to bleed. You can bandage the bleeding with food, with alcohol, with drugs, with work, with cigarettes, with sex, but eventually it will all ooze through and stain you alive. You must find the strength to open the wounds. Stick your hands inside, pull out to the core of the pain that is holding you in your past, the memories, and make peace with them. Once you have unpacked your own bags and you have healed yourself mostly, then you will come to relationships ready to give. You won't be looking to them to solve your problems or fill a hole. Nobody completes you. You are not half. You don't have to be perfect, but you have to come to a place of giving instead of draining anyone else. You are nourishing them. Keeping love alive. Remember when we talked about the mind, we said that happiness comes when we are learning, progressing, and achieving. And yet, as a relationship lengthens, we tend to long for the honeymoon phase. When we are first falling in love, how many times have you been in a relationship and said to yourself, "I wish I could feel like that again," or "I wish we could go back to that time"? But going to the same place for dinner or to the place you had your first kiss won't bring back all the magic. Many of us are so addicted to recreating the same experiences that we don't make space for new ones. What you were actually doing at the start of your relationship was creating new memories with energies and openness. Love is kept alive by creating more new memories, by continuing to learn and grow together. Fresh experiences bring excitement into your life and build a stronger bond. I have many recommendations for activities couples can do together, but here are a couple of my favorites drawn from monk principles. Find new in the old. Remember when, as monks, we looked for a special stone on the same walk we took together every day? You can too. Open your eyes to the world you already live in. Have a candlelight dinner in the middle of the week. Read a book to each other because bed instead of staring at your phones. Take a walk together in the neighborhood and challenge each other to find a certain kind of mailbox or to the first to spot a bird. Find new ways to spend time together. A study by psychologist Arthur Aron found that couples strengthen their bonds when they do new and exciting activities together. My wife and I started to do escape rooms together. An escape room is a game where you are both locked in a room and have to find a way out. The staff gives us a few clues, and you have to work together to solve many steps of the puzzle. It may sound a little creepy, but it's actually a lot of fun. You get to learn together, you get to make mistakes together. It can even playing field when neither of you has more experience or expertise than the other. When you experiment together, as a couple, you feel yourselves growing together in all the areas of your life. You could even try something really scary together, like skydiving or something else that's outside your comfort zone. Remember all the benefits that we found in getting close to our fears. Playing with fear together is a way to practice going into your deeper fears, sharing them with your partner, feeling their support, and together transforming fear. Serve together. Just as serving gives meaning to your life, serving with your partner adds meaning to your connection, whether it's organizing charity events, feeding the homeless, or teaching something together. My most bonding experiences in monk life came about when I took part in collective projects. The horrid 2-day train journey that I have mentioned, planting trees together, building a school. Instead of focusing on the challenges of the relationship, we develop a shared perspective on real life issues. Connecting for a higher purpose, we feel gratitude and bring that back into our relationship. I know many couples who have met through volunteering, so if you are looking for a well suited partner, find a cause that is close to your heart. If you meet through an activity such as volunteering from the start, you already have something very deep in common and you are more likely to form a deeper bond. Meditate and chant together. When a couple who has just See page number 270. When a couple who had just had an argument comes into a room, you can feel the negative energy vibrating between them. The opposite is true. When you and your partner chant together, you are bringing your energy to the same place and feel literally in tune with each other. Finally, envision together what you both want from the relationship. When you are aware of what is important to each other, then you can figure out how much you are willing to adapt. Ideally, each of us is striving to live in your own dharma. In the best of relationships, you get this there together. Overcoming heartbreak. It can be harder to see clearly when your heart is at stake. But there is one point I want to make abundantly clear. There is a difference between being grateful for what you have and settling for less than you deserve. If we are still listening to our child's minds, we are attracted to people who aren't good for us but make us feel better in the moment. Don't wrap your self esteem around someone else. Nobody deserves verbal, emotional, or physical abuse. It is greater to be alone. It is better to be alone, nor should you allow an abusive, manipulative, or toxic relationship or transition into friendship. The dynamic won't change, trust me. In every relationship, you have the opportunity to set the level of joy. you expect and the level of a pain you will accept. No relationship is perfect, but if your joy never reaches a certain height or holds to a low average, that won't change unless you both put in a lot of work. The same is true for how much disappointment you are willing to bear. Your connection may get a slow start. It can take a while or to know each other, but if it never reaches a satisfying level, you need to decide whether to accept it or move on. I knew it's not easy. When you have spent quality time with someone, when you are invested in someone, and when you are giving yourself to someone, it's so hard to let go. Tibetan Buddhist Nan Jetsunam Tenzin Palmo points out that we often mistake attachments for love. She says we imagine that grasping and clinging that we have in our relationships shows that we love, whereas actually it is just attachment which causes pain, because the more we grasp, the more we are afraid to lose. And if we do lose it, then of course we are going to suffer. Ultimately, holding on to the wrong person causes us more pain than letting them go. The strategies I recommend to overcome heartbreak is directly to monk ideas of the self and how we find our way toward peace and purpose. No matter what thought we have, we don't run away from it. We give ourselves space to assess and make changes. Spot, stop, swap. Feel every emotion. It's possible to distract ourselves from heartbreak, but the fix is only temporary. And if you deny your feelings, you end up suffering in other ways. Researchers followed incoming college freshmen to see how well they adapted to their transition and found that those who had a tendency to suppress their emotions had fewer close relationships and felt less social support. Instead, think about how the other person had made you feel in the situations. You might want to articulate your feelings by writing them down or recording them. Read what you have written and listen back objectively. Do you hear any recurring patterns? You can also do a question meditation, asking yourself about the loss. We like to replay emotions, how perfect it was, how it could have been, we thought it was going to go, instead of reflecting on how romantic the relationship was before it crashed and burned. Focus on the reality. What were your hopes for the relationship? What did you lose? Is your disappointment tied to who the person was or who they weren't? Explore your emotions until you uncover the root of the pain and disruption. Learn from the situation. Movies, music, and other media send us limited, often inaccurate messages about what love should look like. Use the reality of the breakup to set realistic expectations about what you deserve and need from a new relationship, and remember that yours can be different from the person you broke up with and or the next person to come along. What was the biggest expectation you had that wasn't met? What was important to you? What was good in the relationship? What was bad? What your role in his demise? Instead of exploring your pain here, you want to investigate the workings of the relationships in order to identify what you want from your next relationship and what you might have to work on in yourself. Believe in your worth. You may undervalue yourself in the moment of a breakup, but your value doesn't depend on someone's ability to fully appreciate you. If you wrap your identity around the relationship, the pain you feel is that you had to sacrifice that part of your identity. If you expected one person to fulfill all of your needs, then of course there is a vacuum when they have gone. Not Now that you are single, use this time to build a community of people with shared interests whom you want to be in your life forever. Make yourself whole. You need to be someone who makes you happy. Wait before dating again. Remember, if you haven't healed past pain, you might miss your next opportunity for an incredible connection with an incredible person. Don't rebound or revenge date. This only causes more hurt and regret that spread further, a virus of pain. Instead, take some time to get to know yourself better, build your self-esteem, invest in your growth. If you have lost yourself in the relationship, find yourself in the heartbreak. The monk way is to build awareness, address, and amend, either within a relationship or before we enter one. We take a step back to evaluate and make sure we understand our own intentions. Then we can venture into the dating world or return to the relationship with self awareness and love. Spot, stop, swap. We have turned our attention outward to address the intimate relationships in our lives, and now we come to our relationships with the larger world. I mentioned that at the ashram, I felt a bond beyond my ties to my family. A far greater force uniting and connecting us all. The astrophysicist Neil deGrasse Tyson said, we are all connected to each other biologically, to the earth chemically, and to the rest of the universe atomically. Atomically. Knowing this, we must look to the universe to find true meaning in our lives. यहाँ पे चैप्टर रिलेशनशिप्स फिर ख़त्म होता है दोस्तों. मिलेंगे हम 11 चैप्टर से सर्विस इन द नेक्स्ट वीडियो में. बाय फॉर नाउ फ्रेंड्स. थैंक यू एंड थैंक यू वेरी मच. बाय.